Hello, my name is Robi Johns. I'm from the Gibson Montana division. I am titled the Master Product Specialist. I've been here for 20 plus years and worked on all the guitars that have been built here in the last 20 years at Gibson in Montana, all the acoustics for Gibson. And what I'm going to share with you right now is part of an exciting moment that we are experiencing because Robert from Max Guitar is visiting us here on our soil, and we are now digging in to the Gibson Montana vault where we keep all of the special products very rarely seen. And what's right beside me here is an actual replica of an early 1960s J160E with the P90 pickup in it. And you can't sense the guitar from where you're at, but I will share with you the fact that this guitar has that really thin nickel string tone that was very famous on all the Beatle tracks. And this was exactly like the guitar that John Lennon had received in around 1963. And here is a picture of him picking it up at Rushmore's in Liverpool. And this guitar had become the symbol of the Beatles in the 1960s. It has a ladder brace underneath. It's exactly designed to be a feel from that era and a tone of that era. The top is laminated, so it's not a solid top, and that's the way they all work to make that old Beatlesque tone. Now what's magical about this is when we studied it, I was working with our founding master luthier, Ren Ferguson, and Yoko Ono was allowing us to do this project because that's her ownership of those models, and she allowed Ren, our master luthier, to go, and sorry this picture is very, very rustic, to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland where the John Lennon model now is in a showcase. Now what had happened when we studied this, we found out that this guitar was like this in the early Fab Four years in the 1960 era, when about 63, everyone was very, very excited. The whole baby boom generation was young, music was flourishing, everyone loved the Beatles, and they were on Ed Sullivan, and it was a beautiful, happy time. And as that generation grew, and some magical things happened, and about the time the Beatles did the Magical Mystery Tour album, which was about 1967, this guitar had turned into the way John had transformed himself into a very psychedelic fellow. And during that time, two artists called The Fool painted this guitar for John after taking the finish off. They even painted some other items. I think they painted their car this color. And then for some of you who've seen the Magical Mystery Tour, you may have seen this guitar in the background. So this was the Summer of Love in 1967. Here's John in the studio playing his Magical Mystery Tour version of this guitar. So now the early young happy youths had transformed into the free love, sometimes drug-oriented youth. They were very happy then too. Now that was an interesting time because the people were growing up in the 60s, and as this generation got older, they got more serious because there were some turmoil in the culture and the wars came along, and John happened to meet a lovely artist at that time who became his love, Yoko Ono. And John, who has always been a proponent for peace and was anti-war and wanted everyone to live in harmony, decided to marry Yoko and have symbolic bed-ins, one of them in Amsterdam and one of them in Toronto in the year 1969. Now to do that, he wanted everything to be natural. So he took the guitar that started like this, that turned into this, and took all the finish off to be all natural. And what I have right beside me is an exact replica of John's guitar at that time in 1969. The transformation of the happy-go-lucky to the free love drug generation into the serious generation that wanted more natural life and peace. Now this guitar is an exact replica of John's guitar, and this is an actual picture of John's guitar in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When our founding luthier, Ren Ferguson, went to study this at the request of Yoko Ono, he did all the measurements, everything exact, and one of the things he did, when I will share with you, when no one was looking, he took John's famous tracings that John did right after the two bed-ins. This is actual John's tracings. He was quite a funny caricature artist, and he drew John and Yoko in both bed-ins. And what he did, no one was looking, Ren took out his paper and he did a tracing. And when I mean no one was looking, the people at the museum would not have appreciated this too much, but I'm going to share it with you now because it was years ago. And so now Ren created an actual tracing of John's hand drawing. Actually, like as if John drew it, created a template, and Ren Ferguson, our founding luthier, drew this with the template down and redrew John's actual design and his caricatures. So this is the closest thing to reality that you will ever get. It's an exact replica done by our master luthier, founding master luthier, Ren Ferguson. Only 70 of these were ever built to celebrate the 70th anniversary of John's life in 2 years ago, because he was born in 1940. So Yoko allowed us to build these. This is in our archives, very precious. Some of these went out in the earlier years when we did replicas. They were like $50,000. So we wanted to share with you. There's only less than 9 of these ever existing in our archives, and I'm aware now that one of these precious pieces that are existing in the world is going to Mac's guitar. Robert's going to take it back with him from our vault. So please check in with Robert and see this magnificent piece. And realize that it's the closest thing to that magical time in the 60s, sometimes dangerous time.
Tell me about the strap, Robbie.
The strap, if you see John's particular strap, which came from that era, is on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. So we talked to a specific strap builder, and we had made an exact replica of that strap. As you see, it is an exact replica, even down to the buckle and the way the end leather is created. So this is going with the guitar. There are very few of these that ever exist. The strap is actually priceless by itself because it is no longer being produced and was no longer being produced. But Robert is taking one of these straps from our archives. We have just a handful of these left over from our replication, and that will be at Mac's Music. So please go there and see this magnificent piece. Be aware that this is the sound behind those magical tracks of all the Beatle years and then later the John Lennon years. It's just so interesting, like as we're digging through these guitars and looking for these pictures, here's like the original contract that I have with Yoko's signature on it that to do the Lennon models, and this is very, very historic and magical stuff. And what I want to tell you is, as a guitar lover and a Beatle lover, and I wasn't one of the baby boomers in the 60s, I was just a little after that. It's been just such an honor and a privilege to just be a witness to this project.
Wow. It is great stuff.
Yeah.
You can't get very much closer than this.
It means so much. Oh, look at these pictures real quick here. Where are those? These are some of the original photos. And oh, you saw these earlier, but I found another one too. Wow, we'll have to keep digging in this vault and see what else we find today. Oh, this is from her company, yeah. It's going to be an interesting day.
Yeah. It's unique stuff. I really is.
This is